Welcome to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Weitzer. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello, and welcome to the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success. Today, our VIP featured guest is a true luminary. She has been creating calm, clutter-free homes for her interior design clients since 2002. She creates interior spaces that work for real people without sacrificing beauty and creativity, and I can personally vouch for that with clients. She designs lovely spaces where people want to relax, laugh, and entertain with their family and friends, and that is the epitome of her personality. She is a wife, mother, small business owner, passionate about her faith, family, travel, and scuba diving, which we're going to have her share some of those favorite stories or destinations with us today. Born and raised in Ithaca, New York, she raised her children in the Chicago area before making it to Texas in 2013. So drum roll, please. Help me welcome Ann Bridgman, owner of Just the Thing Decorating. Hello, Ann.
Hello, Amber. How are you?
It is a gorgeous, sunshiny, hot Texas day, so all is fantastic.
Yes, it is. We skipped over spring and went directly to summer.
Isn't that nutty? It's, we tease every year, my husband and I, he says, okay, that they flipped the switch,
Yep, totally.
Wow. Yes, it's crazy, but definitely welcome after the winter we had.
Definitely. Well, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for taking time and joining us today. It is so exciting to be with you as you share your Silhouette of Success story. So welcome.
Well, thank you. I have so enjoyed listening to your podcast. I find it inspirational to hear these other women and kind of how they structure their lives and how they've gotten to be where they are and how they feel about where they are. It's really a unique perspective, and I appreciate you doing it.
Well, what a massive compliment. Thank you very much. And again, it is because of all of us that we are able to come together to do this. And I am truly honored for each one of the silhouettes. And today it is your day to shine.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Fun. Yes. So I know you. I always say full disclosure. Again, I think it comes with part of my other side of the business territory to say full disclosure, but I have been fortunate to watch you in action, but the audience perhaps hasn't. So tell us, and it's going to be a quick little tease, help illustrate your background a little bit. Share with the audience. This is your time to shine.
Well, thank you. Well, I'll tell you what I do now, and then I'll kind of tell you how I got here. Does that sound okay? I now do interior design and I do staging for occupied homes. So I know Amber in her real estate capacity because she has brought to me sellers, and what I do is work with them to help prepare their home for sale. The bigger part of my business is interior design, where I've been developing that since 2002. And I think the part you may not know is that I certainly did not start there. I went to college up at Hope College in Holland, Michigan. I studied psychology and religion. I went into college thinking I was going to be a Christian counselor, and I came out of college wanting to do business. So I went to work for Aetna, and I sold group health insurance. And then I went to work for Abbott Laboratories, and I sold blood testing equipment to hospitals. And I think the business skill that I learned in those 2 jobs that I still use today is learning to connect and speak to people at all levels. So, like when I worked at Abbott, I worked with PhDs who ran the laboratory, and I worked with techs who were getting paid hourly. And I find that that skill helps me still today. And then I had my babies and I decided to stay home. So I felt like I couldn't give 100% to work and 100% to my family. No disrespect for anybody who makes a different decision, but for me, that was the right choice. So I didn't really know what my next chapter would be. I really didn't have it in mind. And I just thought, we'll see what happens. During those years, when I would be at other people's houses, I would look around and go, have you ever considered moving this piece of furniture here and this piece of furniture and this piece of furniture here? And they'd be like, no. And I said, could we push it around? And so that started happening. And I think, and remember, these are pre-internet days. So no Pinterest, no House, no HGTV. All we had was magazines. And I think like a lot of young women, when they marry and get their first home, they get interested in decorating and interior design. I think that tends to be kind of a step. And so, but what happened next was people started calling me and saying, hey, I've got a couple of paint colors on the wall. Would you come give me an opinion on this? Or would you help me move this around? Or which sofa do you think I should do? And then when my daughter, my youngest, was in kindergarten, I had a friend call me over and kind of ask those questions about her dining room. And she said, by the way, I want to pay you. I said, what? And she said, I don't want to feel guilty. I work and I really want you to do this for me.
Wow.
And I walked away from that and I thought, well, maybe I have a gig. So I started that way and kind of for years, I did it more as a hobby I got paid for. And that was good because I really wanted to be present for my son, Cole, who's now 26, and my daughter, Mackenzie, who's now 24. I did a lot of volunteer work during that time. I kind of sharpened my organizational skills that way. And then when they got to be more like teenagers, early teens, I started realizing that what was on the horizon, they were going to go to college and my husband was going to be working for several more years. And so then I kind of reconsidered again. I had done a little acting. I was thinking, gosh, should I pursue that? And then should I go back to the corporate world? Should I get a retail job? And my wise husband, Jim, said, you have something people are asking you for. Why don't you stop working it like a hobby and start working it like a business? You know how to do outside sales. Work it like a business. And that was really an epiphany. So at that point, I started seeking out more education about it. I did a little certification that gave me a method that kind of put a method to what I was doing instinctively for staging and for kind of redesigning spaces, occupied spaces. And I joined a professional association and I started getting the business side of what I did in order. So the days of having a shoebox of receipts was gone. So I started kind of getting that going, and I worked that up to a pretty successful business until we moved in 2013 to Texas. And I thought, well, we'll see what happens. Maybe God has another chapter for me. But I started just telling people what I did, and there was a need. And so I built the business back up to what it is today, which is I pretty much work 40 to 60 hours a week at it currently. So that's kind of my journey in long form.
Wow. I know I mention all the time, I'm a note taker. And so, oh, wow. Okay. So way to capitalize on that epiphany. That was fantastic because you have a full spectrum of so many skills and talents. I mean, they all seem not connected, but you were able to interconnect them organically just because of who you are. I mean, I've got yeah, the acting was great because your headshot, it looks like a true headshot. I saw
Oh,
that. I'm like,
thank you.
wow, look at her. I mean, you're gorgeous and you're just so talented and just a fun personality. But when I saw that, I thought, okay, this should be, somewhere.
Oh, that's so nice. Well,
Yes.
you were probably surprised since it really, I don't look like that in person. So,
No, but you do. That's, it's funny. You are one of those that really does though look like your headshot.
oh, you're sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, there's that old joke about glamour shots, right? Back in the
Yes.
day, but
Oh,
no,
yes.
you just shine through and through all the time. So what an amazing spectrum of professional skills and talents and your versatility, and you brought all of that together with your passion and what people were telling you you're really good at this. So was that hard to, I guess, embrace? It sounds like it wasn't for you. Some people struggle with that and ignore it.
That's interesting. I do think we all struggle with the imposter syndrome, right?
Hmm.
And I for sure have moments like that today. For example, a couple years ago, I went to High Point Market, which is where all the manufacturers display the newest things and the beauty, and people, stores come from miles around and spend millions of dollars purchasing inventory for the whole year. And I did have a little wave of the imposter syndrome when I was there, but I had to kind of pull up my big girl panties and go, I do this. I make people happy. This is my job. So it is definitely it's a little bit of a game you play with yourself, but I feel like the longer I do it and the more I learn, the less I feel that. So
Yeah.
it's a process.
I'm dancing over here, and so I hope it's not popping in the microphone. But I just went crazy when you said, I do this. I can just see you standing there like, I do this. I
Uh-huh.
mean,
Right.
wow, what a cheer for ourselves. I do this.
It's true though. And
Oh,
yeah. And I
yeah.
think part of it too was, what I took from my early business career
Uh-huh.
really applies. And the part that most people, like, I think most people think, oh, well, I like to arrange pretty things. I'm going to be an interior designer. And that is the fun part of the job for sure. But there is so much to the business side. I just never really understood that. And I'm still growing in that area. So I think that's kind of how it all came together. My mom was an artist, and then she passed away when I was 11. And my stepmother, Darby, came into my life, and her mother, Lorraine, had just a lovely sense of style, very classic and beautiful. And I had never seen that before. And I appreciated it. I mean, I didn't even know what I was seeing, but I just appreciated like the way the colors looked together and the way the textures worked together. And I just thought it was beautiful. And I think that awoke in me a little latent artistic skill that I certainly do not have with drawing or painting or sculpture or anything like that. So I think that is probably like the core of it. But because I have sort of the business side as well, those two sides are what has propelled me to some measure of success in the industry.
Well, you're just the full package.
Oh.
But it's interesting what you say because one of the questions, of course, I have for you today is where do you think that your source? Well, I guess that question would be twofold: is share your current source of style inspiration, but also where do you think that influence came from? And you just touched on that, so we're just going to cover that now. How cool is that? Because you probably, of course, have that ingrained in you, from your mom,
Mm-hmm.
with the artistic, and you just have a different medium that you're
Yeah.
expressing your artistic. Yeah. And you picked up styling early on too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had to really kind of think about that, kind of where it came from. I had
Mhm.
a really insightful friend, Erin, asked me a question. She said, what did you play when you were little?" And I was like, "Wha- uh, I said, well, and without thinking, I go, I like to make Barbie houses.
Uh-huh.
And
Yep.
as soon as it was out of my mouth, I thought, oh my
Huh.
goodness, I'm still making Barbie houses.
You are. Yes, you are.
So I guess there is some of that, but I never in a million years when I was going into college would have said this is what I was going to do. Never.
Well,
So
yeah, remind everybody what you studied at Hope College.
yeah, psychology and religion. But
Right.
ironically, they both come into play.
I was going to say, you need them both. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Isn't that
definitely.
funny? Yes.
Uh-huh.
It does all go hand in hand. How funny is that?
Yeah.
Wow.
So for inspiration, I feel like interior designers, there's kind of a spectrum. You have people who are super artistic, and you have people who are super formulaic and kind of businesslike and a little bit more thinking about like scaling. I think I'm a little more businesslike. Maybe I'm more of an assembler. I think a skill I have is I can take in a lot of images. I can see a lot of things and then say, I need this, this, and this from all these different sources and put them together and help them to be cohesive. So one thing that inspires me is I do try to look at every magazine that comes to my house I go through just to get the images in my head of kind of what's out there and what the trends are. I love going to a beautiful showroom or a beautiful store. If there's people who do that well, I love to see how they put things together and learn from them. I love going to High Point and seeing these manufacturers who are thinking about what that next thing is. I participate in Interior Design Society, and they offer us great continuing education from people who are not just looking at the trends for the fall, they're telling us about what the color and shape trends are going to be in 2022. So it helps you kind of have that long view so that when someone does a renovation or a remodeling project, you can say, okay, I want you to be on the front edge of this trend. I don't want this to feel out of date in 2 years. I want it to have longevity for you. And so doing those kind of continuing education things allows me to be able to inform my clients that way.
Well, and we, speaking selfishly, having the fortunate ability to call upon you because you're here locally, we value that in a professional. And I know your clients and your customers do as well, because you do provide that forethought and enriching yourself to have that cutting edge education or insight instead of being more of, I guess, maybe reactive or in the now. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So it's interesting because we were going to also talk about a day in the life of. And so just for our audience, I want them to understand how beautiful your social media is.
Oh,
But,
thank you.
and I say but too, because the other day you totally took me off guard and I was rolling. So we're going to ask this question specifically this way because it is applicable and a teaser for everybody to go through and just scroll through all your social media to find what I'm talking about. So I'm going to ask Anne, what does a day in the glamorous life look like for you? So the alarm goes off, the business day begins. So tell our audience how glamorous your life can be sometimes.
I am so glamorous. Yes. Well, I get up about 6:30. I like to have, I'll tell you what, if I could lollygag till noon, I would lollygag till noon. I mean, that's sort of the way I roll. But what I really do is I sit for I get a cup of coffee, I read my Bible, I pray, I maybe do a little Bible study. Then I post on social media. And then I get myself together. My husband and I go work out. We do weights, we do spin, we go for a walk with our dogs. And I get cleaned up, and I kind of structure my days where some days I'm in my office at home and I'm selecting product online, I'm coordinating deliveries, I'm consulting with clients remotely, doing the business side of the business. And then other days I'm visiting showrooms, selecting product with or without clients for clients, meeting with new clients, doing staging for real estate agents, visiting remodeling projects, delivering product, redoing shelves, arranging things, that kind of stuff. And then my workday usually ends around 6. because I get started a little bit later. And I like to unwind with my husband, watch some shows, and then probably 2 or 3 times a week, I spend about 2 or 3 hours working at night. But that's a trade-off my husband and I have made consciously, because we do like to travel. And we both like to work. So we kind of said, you know what, if we have to work a little bit more in order to have that time to travel, that's a trade-off we're willing to make.
That is amazing. Amazing. And something I'm hearing you say, which the glamorous side, we'll tease about that post. I want everybody to go back and find that. You videoed yourself and it was so awesome. It was really cool. So we'll let them go look for it. But that one threw me off of all of the, the beautiful rooms that you're doing and the befores and afters. But on a serious note, I really value something, and I know the audience will get value in that as well. You just mentioned communicating with your husband, your business, and your goals together. Talk to us about that. We're going to take a little, beeline off of what we were going to do here, but because that's pretty critical. I haven't heard anybody mention it before in our podcast. It is something that we try to do here in our family as well. But professing your business goals or your strategies with your family or partner, or talk about how that works for you. What are the benefits and what have you found positive in doing that?
That's a great question. My business has always been my business from the beginning, but he has always spoken into it wisdom and experience, which I have really appreciated. As I told you, like he's given me a lot of really key pieces of advice along the way. I think because I lost my mother to cancer when she was 11, I did not grow up with this sense of life being endless. And I really always felt like I have to make this life what I want it to be. And there's not time to not do that, to not live your life the way you really want to live it. And so we kind of have regular discussions about, what do we really want to be doing? Do we really want to be traveling? And if so, how do we make that happen? Do we, how much money is enough? How much do we have to work? How much do we want to see our friends? Do we need to make time to do that? How important is health to us? Do we need to make time to exercise, to do that kind of thing? And so we are not, I wish I could tell you, Amber, that we're the kind of couple that writes down mission statements and sets yearly goals. And unfortunately, being 2 babies and salespeople, we're not completely like that. But I do think that we try to keep the main things the main things. Mm-hmm. We try to make sure that we find things that we can do together. We've been married, let's see, what year are we on here? 26 years. And so we have to make sure that we find things that we both enjoy doing so we have those things in common. So I think I've answered your question. We try to just consciously make choices that align with how we want our life to be.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for exploring that a little bit. I know that wasn't in anything we talked about that we were going to talk about, but how do you not stop, right? And grab it in the moment, because that is so important. It is so important. And so many of us and out there in the audience benefit from talking through those things. Sometimes we don't even think about them in the time, but we can't figure out why we're all not maybe clicking within the household or within your circles or whatever that looks like for you. But all of those things that you just shared, that was beautiful. So thank you. Thank you for that.
No, thank you for asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break here for our episode sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Is it time to sell your home? Build that dream home, right size? Or are you ready to invest in real estate? Couture Real Estate Firm is a local female-owned independent brokerage laser-focused on services exclusively tailored to our clients' real estate goals. With our forward-thinking business model, we have a fully mobile, luxury real estate concept allowing convenience, flexibility, efficiency for our clients in style. Amber Weitzer, broker owner of Couture Real Estate Firm, has over 20 years in the real estate industry and is a second-generation broker. She provides straightforward business practices, integrity, and intelligence with a commitment to a high-touch, consistent customer service experience. We take great pride in our reputation as a strong, referral-based brokerage. Discretion, tenacity, respect, and proactive business practices have earned Couture Real Estate Firm a loyal, repeat client business with a trusted global partner network. We strive for ultimate client satisfaction with successful results, doing it with class, consciousness, and a little avant-garde. In addition to serving our clients and vendor partners, we are extremely honored to be actively engaged in supporting the communities we serve by promoting small businesses, schools, and nonprofits. Real estate is direct sales business at its core, and we are highly trained sales professionals with the Mike Ferry organization, adding dimension to the industry. Passionate about customer service, dedicated to client satisfaction, and driven to achieve successful results for our clients. Call Couture Real Estate Firm today at 817-233-7239 to discuss your real estate goals.
Okay, and we are back. So let's catch back up, maybe a little bit deeper here for one quick question. Thinking back through your journey, whatever stage, maybe was there ever a specific point in time, event, or key situation in your professional life that really forced you to take a monumental shift within your business and career? And if you can think of an example to share, whether it was positive or painful, how did that help you grow?
I consider that question. I think I didn't have a giant monumental change. The thing that came to mind was at the beginning of my career in interior design, I think there was a level of, I didn't know if I was for real, and I didn't know if I was going to be successful. And so I tried really hard to keep my overhead super low. Like, don't spend any money on anything because this might be the last job. And then at one point, maybe a couple of years in, my husband said to me, "Ann, you have to spend money to make money." And so then I very cautiously started investing in my business. Just each year, I was like, okay, I'm going to invest a little bit in my business, a little bit of marketing one year, buying some tools another year, starting to pay an accountant one year. And this past year, actually, it was the beginning of 2020, I invested in a technology. So this is right before COVID happened. I invested in a technology that allows me to work remotely with people and to be able to show them designs and product and communicate through an online portal system. And that, I cannot believe how wonderful that was to have during 2020. So that allowed me to kind of continue working on projects during that time. So that has given me, and then since, it has given me a really big increase in efficiency. So it wasn't like a personal crisis that caused that, but I think that mind shift that Jim gave me of, you need to invest, you need to spend a little money, really made a huge difference.
And talk about timing.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Right? Isn't that interesting? I tell you, with all of the things that happened during the pandemic, the derogatory, I mean, everybody can, dwell on that all you want. However, I will say that as many people as I'm fortunate to visit with and talk with in all spectrums, like we all do, but I'll say, just like you talked about with the timing, there have been more glasses and chugs of lemonade made from the lemons. And so much of that was on people did things at the beginning that ended up being so valuable during the pandemic for them.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, so cool. Good for you. So something else that I was curious to ask you about is, at some point during your career, is there something that you wish someone would have told you before you launched, whether it was your business or a different phase in your career? Is there a what they call golden nugget of advice or wisdom that you now know that you can pass on that maybe you wish someone would have told you or prepared you for?
Mm-hmm. There's a couple. One thing is, I think when I was young, I underestimated how much people ahead of me truly want to help you. I
Mm.
think I felt like they were all in a club
Mhm.
and I was just trying to sneak in the back door. And it's now that I'm older, I'm 54, and I when young women ask me, oh, I'm thinking about interior design, I love meeting with them. I love sharing with them. I love encouraging them. I love answering their questions about how it works. And I've encouraged my kids to do informational interviews with people ahead of them and ask them questions like, how'd you get there? What was your biggest challenge? What advice would you have for me? Because every time I've done that, I had some key people who were already interior designers when I was still trying to figure out how it all worked, who I met with, who kind of pulled back the curtain and explained it all to me. And I am so grateful for that. I had huge leaps in knowledge because of that. So that's one thing I would say is, my goodness, utilize those people ahead of you. Most people are very willing to help people who are just starting out. The second thing is, I've seen in this internet age that a lot of young people feel like everything has to be perfect before they start. They have to know everything and it has to look perfect. And that's just not true. One of my things is, start simply, but simply start. It doesn't matter if you don't have the perfect name. Just start. Just go call your friend up and say, hey, can I come redo your shelves and take before and afters? Like, start. I literally do learn something every day, truly. And, I go a little bit in business and then I adjust. Then I go a little bit in business, then I adjust. And that's how you have to be as an entrepreneur. You have to do that. You have to start. So, and then the tangential phrase to that is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So even now, when I have a client who, needs a house full of furniture, I got a little wave of, oh my goodness, this is too big for me. And then you just have to take a step, and then you just take another step, and then you just take another step, and you grow. So that's kind of my biggest piece of advice. Start simply, but simply start.
Love it. And typically I ask that towards the end for the key piece of go-to advice for intentional inspiration. I don't know. Is that going to be it?
That might
That
be
is,
it. Yeah.
well, oh, that is fabulous. Oh, yeah, I love it. Okay. So you said you learn something new every day, and I'm on page 3 of my notes. I'm trying not to crinkle my paper. I keep muting it so it doesn't catch in the audio, but wow, I'm learning a lot from you, my lady.
Aw.
So, something else I'm watching the time and we will wrap this up in respecting schedules. We all value great resources that both help maybe inspire and uplift us, but encourage us or stretch us a little bit. So, do you have a favorite author, book, or any resources that you follow that you'd want to share, and what makes them a favorite?
I think I'm a little bit more of an auditory learner. So I do like podcasts. Depending on what I'm stuck on, that's the podcast I listen to. So there's one for interior designers by Luann Nigera called A Well-Designed Business. She's fabulous and interviews all kinds of people about interior design business. There's a weight maintenance podcast that I like by Fat Dag. That's his name. He's great. I love Greg Laurie for like biblical inspiration. I think he's great for positive mindset stuff. I definitely do lean on the Bible for inspiration and how to keep the main things the main things. So I would definitely say that as well. Oh, and my lovely friends here in Texas and also throughout the nation. I don't just throw that in lightly. I feel like they ground me and they make me laugh and they help me remember that life is not all about work. I need them in my life.
Yeah. Can't do without them.
Mm-mm.
Can't do without them. Our yes, friends and circles and family and phenomenal. So thank you. We will be sure and include those resources that you've shared in the notes in the podcast, because again, I was writing down, and I think that's part of how I learn, even though I know we can always go back and listen to this, but those are awesome. Thank you for that. So, milady, as we go to close out here, this fun time with you, where can our audience go to find and connect with you on your socials or support you in your continued success?
Well, thank you for asking. I am just a little baby in social media, but I can tell you this: referrals and reviews and comments on social media are very important to an entrepreneur's business. So I welcome them. I try to be almost everywhere. So Instagram, it's Just the Thing Decorating 709. I am on Facebook at Just the Thing Decorating. I am on LinkedIn. You can find me there as Anne Bridgman. And my website is justthethingdecorating.com. And you can sign up to receive my newsletter, which comes out roughly quarterly. And I look forward to connecting.
Fantastic. Thank you. And again, we will make sure we've got those links within the show notes so everybody can come and find you and just see all the amazing things you're doing.
Thank you.
And once again, you fill my heart. My cheeks hurt from giggling and laughing. And thank you for sharing your Silhouette of Success story with us today. You were just completely enjoyable and inspirational. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Amber. It was a pleasure.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out and join us for all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another Silhouette of Success. Amber would love to hear from you, and you can find her on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or head over to amberweitzer.com. Let's connect. Help us all shine and leave us a review too. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at amberweitzer.com. We are honored, humbled, and full of joy that you've tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success.